the access to the liquidity and the stronger investor visibility really allows us to now position Vaultz as a global player, which is focused on our growth and allows us to become a much better investment vehicle.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Vaultz Capital CEO Eric Benz. Eric, very good to speak with you. The company started trading on the OTCQB Venture Market today. What does this mean for investors?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Stephen. It's great to be here. And also, I just wanted to say thank you to our shareholders who have been extremely patient during this process. Being live with OTCQB really is important for us for a couple different reasons. This allows us to open ourselves up to a US focused investor base, which is going to fuel the Treasury, in my opinion. And also, it allows us to move ahead with some of the internal projects and operations that have been stalled as a result of waiting for this OTCQB.
Eric, can you shed some light on projects behind the scenes that you can now move forward with post OTC?
Yes, absolutely, Stephen. So the OTCQB allows us to now have access to U.S. investors, which is really important, and not only for positioning but also for long-term growth. This also allows us, and this is something that we mentioned previously, but this allows us to really focus our efforts now on our rebrand. Being able to tell a story and position it properly is really important, especially as we look to scale and target new markets. And this rebrand includes new name, new website, and a whole new look and feel in terms of really what Vaultz is angling and positioning itself to be.
Why is the OTC so important to your long-term strategy?
So the OTC is really important for our long-term strategy because this really gives us access to the largest, most liquid market, in the world. The U.S. accounts for over 26% of global transaction activity, and as we know as well, in the U.S., the stablecoin market has reached extraordinary highs, especially in the first half of 2025 alone. And this access to the U.S. investor base is vital because it gives us deeper liquidity. It strengthens our valuation and really allows us to develop more strategic partnerships.
Eric, now that Vaultz is trading on both the OTCQB and Frankfurt exchanges, how do these listings strengthen your access to capital and investor reach?
So thank you. And yes, the Frankfurt listing is very important as well for us. I mean, Frankfurt is one of Europe's largest, most liquid markets, processing over 5 billion euros in trades daily. And really, together with the US, the OTCQB in the US, as well as the Frankfurt listing, this gives us access to two very important investor bases, both in Europe as well as the US market. And I think the access to the liquidity and the stronger investor visibility really allows us to now position Vaultz as a global player, which is focused on our growth and allows us to become a much better investment vehicle.
Any concern about the recent falls in the Bitcoin price, Eric?
Well, after being in the industry for over 10 years, I've seen Bitcoin go through many different cycles, and we've been very, very aware as to kind of where Bitcoin is at the moment and where it's heading. And this has no bearing whatsoever in terms of our position. We are long Bitcoin. We're always going to be buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in our blood, is in our veins. It's what we live for. And if we look at the past 6 months alone, Bitcoin is up 20%. Even in the past 12 months alone, it's up even more than that. So we're positioned well in terms of where we stand, and obviously we're going to be buying Bitcoin for as long as we can in order to really separate ourselves and position ourselves accordingly in this market.
Well, Eric, congratulations again on that OTCQB admission. I hope you'll continue to keep us updated on your progress.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's a pleasure.
That's Vaultz Capital CEO Eric Benz.